Although Jeffreys had one of the highest posts in the country, he was by no means the most famous of the prisoners to be held in the Tower. The best known of all the Tower's mysteries concerns two young boys who, officially at least, were not meant to be prisoners at all.
The princes in the Tower were the two sons of Edward IV. Edward, who was the elder Prince of Wales, and Richard, Duke of York. When Edward IV died, rather unexpectedly in 1483, Richard went with his mother to Westminster to sanctuary because they were safe there from any possible usurper or anyone who wished to take possession. But Edward was taken charge of by Richard, Duke of Gloucester, his uncle, Edward IV's brother, and brought into the Tower on the grounds that he would there prepare for his coronation, which was the standard practice. So he wasn't held as a prisoner. He was lodged in the royal palace within the Tower. There was a suggestion that both boys were illegitimate because their father had made a prenuptial contract with Lady Eleanor Butler before his marriage. And under current law, that made them illegitimate. Richard then took the throne as Richard III. And the two boys were seen originally playing in the garden, looking out of the windows. But gradually, they were seen less and less. And from the late summer of 1483, they were not seen at all. And the suspicion grew that because Richard didn't produce them and didn't parade them through London, that they had died or been killed. And from that day, practically until this, there has been some doubt as to who was the instigator. Obviously, Richard was the prime suspect because he had taken the throne. And he was removing potential rivals who could be manipulated by others and presented as legitimate monarchs. In 1502, 18 years later, Sir James Tyrrell, who was charged with treason on a completely unrelated matter, after he had been convicted, so he had nothing to lose, said that he had supervised the deaths of the two boys, that they had been smothered in their beds by two men who he had employed, and that they had been buried within the Tower. And then in the reign of Charles II, when work was being done close to the White Tower, a box with the bodies of two boys who were presumed to be more or less the same age as Edward IV's children would have been in 1483 was discovered, which seemed to lend credence to the fact that they were murdered, possibly in 1483 or soon afterwards. And the legend has hung on, and it has been a major cause of damaging the reputation of Richard III, who in other respects, many historians would say, had been an effective king and had continued the Yorkist reforms which had been established by Edward IV. Richard III's death on the battlefield was followed by an almost orchestrated campaign to vilify him. And one of the grounds, of course, was the disappearance of the two boys. And the debate has resurfaced because Richard's body was rediscovered recently beneath a car park in Leicester, where he had been buried after the Battle of Bosworth.